In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get started with the yubinuki stitch. I've already made the thimble and worked out the pattern with my facing. I've got my thimble so that my arrows are running to the right to begin with, and I've marked one of the lines with a colored mark to show that that's my starting point. First thing you need to do is attach your thread, and to do this you use the yubinuki knot. So take your needle at the center of the thimble and come out above the line where you've decided it's going to be your starting point. Leave a tail with the thread. A little bit below, come back up, just at the same place. Tuck your thread behind the needle, a little bit like working a blanket stitch. Pull up, tighten, and pull down. Now you can pull that tail and trim it off to get it out of the way. And now we're going to start the herringbone stitch. So we need to work from point to point. Depending on the instructions will depend on which point you work to, whether you're working to this, whether you're working to the next one along. Those instructions will be given whenever you have a pattern for a yubinuki. I'm going to work to this next one. So because it's at the bottom, I need to turn my thimble. I'm going to insert the needle from the back to the front. Some people work the herringbone as a true herringbone, which is side to side, which would be sort of like that. But I find that you get quite a nice finish on the edges of your yubinuki if you work it sort of from the back to the front. Have your thread underneath your needle when you're pulling through, and that creates the first herringbone stitch. Now, because we still need to work in the direction of the arrows, turn again and go to the next natural. So again, thread at the bottom, needle from the edge in, pull through, second herringbone stitch. And you'll notice that what's happened is I've actually skipped a mark in between. So turn again, work through, back to front, thread was underneath, and you carry on in this way. Flipping the thimble itself each time, which makes it a little bit easier to work. And you just always keep your thread underneath your needle. Each pattern will determine how you follow them, and some of the patterns can be very complex when you actually look at what some Japanese makers use. So take care to start off with a simple pad to begin with. So that's going. What is going to happen now is that it's going to be crossing over at a different point. And this is where the patterns come in, is that however the threads lie, they will cross over each other and interweave, which is very, very similar to button making. I'm going to do 2 full rounds so that I can show you what happens when you get next to a thread where you will put your next thread. But as you can see, it's quite simple really, once that you actually just remember that rule that the thread is underneath the needle and always work in the direction of the arrows. It's another one of those things where practicing the technique is really the key. Okay, so now I've come back to the start. So at this point, place your needle just ever so slightly, still working in the direction of the arrow, so at that point, ever so slightly to the side. Really, as you work, you want to be as close as absolutely possible, so that your next layer runs alongside the first. And it will always go alongside at the direction of the arrow. And that will help to build up the colors and the patterns. And that is how you work a basic yubinuki. When you want to change your thread, or you have to, either you want to change a new color or you're running low, I find it's best to just insert quite close to that mark, and then I can trim that off afterwards, and then add the new one using a yubinuki knot in exactly the same place over the top, so that you just carry on with what you need to do.